HOA President Karen kept parking in my driveway. So I got her car towed, twice. It was the crack of dawn when I finally made it home from an exhausting 12-hour shift at the local hospital. The only thing on my mind was collapsing onto my couch and getting some much-needed sleep. But as I turned onto my quiet suburban street, something made me slam on the brakes. There it was, a shiny silver SUV sitting squarely in my driveway. My driveway. The very spot where I had cleared space just for my dad, who struggles with mobility issues, to easily get in and out of the house. At first, I thought it might be a medical emergency. Or maybe someone had car trouble and pulled over. But there was no note. No sign of distress, just that SUV. Parked as if it belonged there. I sighed. Irritation bubbling up. And parked on the street instead. Hoping this was just a one-off mistake. But as I walked past the SUV, I saw that the situation was more deliberate than I thought. This wasn't just an innocent mishap. I wrote a polite note: "Hi. This is private property. Please do not park here again. Thanks." And tucked it under the windshield wiper. Thinking this would be the end of it, I trudged inside, trying to shake off the frustration. Little did I know, this SUV was just the beginning of something much worse. I barely had a chance to relax when I woke up from a short nap to find that same silver SUV still in my driveway. My note had been crumpled up and tossed into the nearby bushes. My stomach churned with frustration as I realized this wasn't just a mistake anymore, this was deliberate. I had appointments to attend with my dad. And we needed the driveway to be clear so he could easily access the car with his walker. Without hesitation, I wrote a second note. Much firmer this time: "This is private property. Do not park here. Final warning." I tucked the note under the windshield wiper, determined that this time things would be different. But when I woke up the next morning and saw that same SUV parked in the exact same spot, blocking my dad's easy access, I felt my patience snap. Enough was enough. My heart pounded in my chest as I stormed across the street to Karen's house. I could already feel the tension building in my muscles as I walked toward her door. When Karen finally answered, she looked at me with that signature smug look on her face. The one that made it clear she thought she was above it all. "What are you doing near my car?" she snapped, her tone dripping with arrogance. I forced myself to stay calm. "This is your SUV?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. Her response was a mix of indifference and entitlement. "I'm the HOA president," she said. "I use your driveway sometimes. Especially when I'm dealing with HOA business. It's not like you're using it all the time." I tried to explain that I needed that space for my dad. But Karen only waved me off. "You don't own this street," she said dismissively, before slamming her car door and driving off, leaving me standing there, seething with anger. Days went by, and I thought maybe Karen had finally understood that I wasn't going to tolerate her behavior. But it didn't last. One evening, after another exhausting shift at the hospital, I came home only to find Karen's SUV parked in my driveway once again. This time, not only was her car blocking the ramp I had installed for my dad, but it was parked so aggressively that I couldn't even reach the door. Panic started to rise in my chest. What if something happened to my dad and we couldn't get him out? I stormed across the street, my fists clenched and my heart racing. When Karen opened the door, I could barely hold in my frustration. "You're blocking my dad's access ramp," I said, my voice tight. "He's elderly. He uses a walker. You can't do this, Karen. However, rolled her eyes like I was making a fuss over nothing. Your father can walk around it, she said dismissively. It's not that big of a deal. You're just making it worse. I clenched my jaw, trying not to let the anger take over. This is a big deal, I said. It's my dad's safety. Move your car, she sighed dramatically. Fine. But know this, she said, her tone turning venomous. As HOA president, I can make your life very difficult if you keep harassing me. Then, without waiting for a response, she slammed the door in my face. I stood there, boiling with rage, as she moved her car just enough to avoid blocking the ramp. But the oil stains her SUV left behind on the driveway were like a permanent reminder of her complete lack of respect. This wasn't just about a parking spot anymore, it was about her blatant disregard for my family's well-being. The next day, Karen seemed to vanish. No cars in my driveway. No confrontations. I almost thought maybe she had learned her lesson. But then I received a notice, a bright pink slip posted right on my mailbox. It was from Karen, accusing me of violating HOA rules and demanding I clean up the oil stains left by her car. My blood pressure skyrocketed. This was ridiculous. How was I being fined for something she caused? I grabbed the notice and stormed inside. I couldn't take it anymore. My dad, who already had enough on his plate, didn't need this kind of stress. Karen wasn't just being unreasonable, she was actively making my life harder. I grabbed my phone and called a college friend, Dan, who worked in property disputes. After hearing my story, Dan was furious. She has no right to park in your driveway. You've given her multiple chances. You can have her towed. Legally. And if she's threatening you, that's harassment. The advice was exactly what I needed. I had tried patience, warnings, and even polite confrontations. But Karen had spit on all of it. I couldn't let her keep pushing me. The next time she parked in my driveway, I was ready. That day came faster than I expected. I came home to find her SUV parked right in the middle of my driveway again, blocking the ramp and restricting my dad's access. I grabbed my phone, took photos of the SUV, and called the tow company. It felt like a small victory, but it was one I desperately needed. The tow trucks arrived within the hour, and watching her precious SUV being hooked up and driven away was oddly therapeutic. I had done everything I could. Now it was her turn to face the consequences. 2 hours later, I was helping my dad with his physical therapy when we heard a car screech to a halt outside. My heart sank as I peeked through the window, seeing Karen storming up the driveway like a woman on a mission. I braced myself for impact. She came up to my front door, her face red and trembling with fury. "Where is my car?" she screamed, pointing accusingly at me. I opened the door, trying to stay calm, but inside I was seething. "Both of your cars were towed," I said, matter-of-factly. "Parking in my driveway is trespassing. I'm done playing nice." Karen's eyes widened in shock. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish, struggling to find words. Then, as if she'd found the perfect solution, she whipped out her phone. "I'm calling the police," she spat, her voice shaking with rage. "You've harassed me, and now I'll have you arrested." I just stood there, arms folded. "Go ahead, Karen," I said coolly. "I'll wait." 15 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. Karen ran straight to them, waving her arms wildly. He had my cars towed for no reason. This is theft, she screamed. Officer Reynolds sighed heavily. Ma'am, slow down. What exactly happened? Karen pointed frantically at me. I was parked here on official HOA business. I'm the HOA president. This is harassment. Reynolds turned to me. Did you have the car towed? I nodded, showing him the photos I had taken. She's parked in my driveway without permission several times. It was the only choice. The officers exchanged a look, then turned to Karen. Ma'am, a driveway is private property. He has the legal right to remove unauthorized vehicles. Karen's face turned a shade of pale I'd never seen before. She was speechless for the first time, and the officers could barely hide their irritation with her. You can pay the towing fees at the impound lot, Officer Martinez said, his voice steady. And if you keep calling us for false reports, you could face legal action. The moment the officers left, Karen stood there shaking with fury, knowing she had lost. For the next week, Karen stayed away, avoiding eye contact and glaring at me when we both happened to be outside. I thought, maybe, just maybe, this was the end of it. I was exhausted from the ongoing confrontation, and my focus needed to return to caring for my father who had his surgery coming up. But as it is with people like Karen, peace is fleeting. One calm Saturday morning, I woke up early, planning to take my dad to his follow-up appointment. I pulled back the curtains, expecting another ordinary day. But no. My stomach dropped as I saw her SUV parked in the middle of my driveway again. This time, though, it was worse. She had parked not 1, but 2 cars, completely blocking me in. Not only was my driveway occupied again, but my dad's appointment was in just 2 hours. My frustration spiked. This was no longer a simple inconvenience, it was sabotage. I rushed outside, heart pounding in my chest, only to find that Karen was nowhere in sight. I knocked on her door repeatedly, but no answer. I tried calling neighbors to see if she was home, nothing. She was either avoiding me, or in true Karen fashion, simply not home, leaving me stranded with no way out. I remembered my friend Dan's advice, and with no other option left, I picked up the phone and called the tow company. I explained the situation calmly, 2 unauthorized cars in my driveway, blocking me in, and within 30 minutes, the tow trucks arrived. Watching Karen's SUV being hooked up was surreal. There was a strange sense of vindication running through me, like I'd finally taken control of the situation. When both cars were towed away, I felt a wave of satisfaction, but also anxiety. Karen was going to explode. Sure enough, about 2 hours later, I heard the screeching tires of her car coming up my driveway. Karen had returned, and she was furious. She bolted out of her car, her face twisted in rage as she marched up to me, shaking with anger. And that, folks, was the crazy saga of dealing with a Karen who thought her HOA status gave her the right to bully others into submission. I can't tell you how satisfying it was to stand my ground, especially when I had to fight for my dad's safety and my own property rights. But, honestly, I want to know what you think. Have you ever encountered a neighbor who thought they were above the law? Or maybe you've been stuck in an HOA battle of your own? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation going. If you enjoyed this story, Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic HOA drama and neighborhood tales. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. And if you really liked it, share it with your friends and family. Let's spread the word. Thank you for being part of this amazing community. And as always, stay tuned for more outrageous and satisfying stories like this one. See you in the next video.